Hi, I'm Josiah,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and this is Worth Watching. So what's one thing you learned from this movie?
Never give an ape your gun. Hello and welcome to this episode of Worth Watching. Today we're reviewing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Alright, so this movie takes place like 8 or 10 years after the events of the first Rise of the Planet of the Apes movie, and essentially the entire world has succumbed to this virus, and then there was like a war that broke out after that and people fighting each other. There are very few people left alive on Earth, and the apes, these sentient apes, have grown in a lot in power and are developing their own sort of civilization in the woods, and they think all the people are dead. All the people don't really know exactly what's going on with the apes, and so there are these two isolated groups of intelligent creatures who are sort of having a conflict with each other and are not comfortable with each other, and it's always sort of this fear of the other that's going on around there. And so the movie just sort of explores what happens after this group of people runs in with this group of apes and how they all deal with the situation. I have to say my absolute favorite part of this movie is Andy Serkis as Caesar, the lead ape. Andy Serkis, of course, played Gollum in Lord of the Rings and King Kong and stuff. He's a guy who's known for doing motion capture work for CGI characters, and this is, in my opinion, his all-time best performance as a CGI character, maybe other than Gollum. But he's really good in this movie, and they motion captured his facial expressions as well, and you can see just these super emotive expressions in Caesar's face, and the CGI looks phenomenal, the ape looks great, and Andy Serkis just does an amazing job in his performance as Caesar.
So not just Caesar, but like the whole ape family in this movie was probably the best part. Like they had a human family and they had an ape family, but the human family you didn't really have a backstory on. They tried to throw things in there, but you were more emotionally tied to the monkey family than you were the humans.
And that's the thing, is that a lot of the main human characters of this movie are just really one-dimensional. You don't know anything about them going into the movie, and you don't really learn anything about them through the course of the movie other than just tiny little tidbits of random information they'll throw in there to try to give them a backstory. But you don't really know what they like, how they interact, really what their group dynamic is, except for these really stereotypical characters who feel like they're out of like an early 90s adventure movie where you're like, that guy's gonna die from this, that guy's gonna do this, where you can just instantly pick out their character types, and they're all really flat characters.
Speaking of things that weren't developed well, the plot had holes everywhere. Like they would have main characters would bring up things that you're supposed to be like emotionally tied to, and it would have no significance. They never bring it up again.
Right, like one of the main characters started talking about the fact that she had had a daughter who then died and things like that. It was literally like a 3-line scene, never brought up again. You never learn anything more about it. So you don't actually learn to care about the character anymore because you don't know how it affected her, how it affected people around them, how that changes things, because it doesn't actually matter.
And that was part of it, why you cared more about the apes, because you had no emotional attachment to the humans, because it didn't make any sense at all.
Well, right, and exactly. And you actually, the thing for the apes was they were in the last movie. And so you got to see, Caesar's storyline. You got to see Koba's storyline. You actually cared about them as characters, and they were developed better than the human characters were. And as far as the apes go, they all look fantastic in this movie. I know I already said that, but I'll say it again. They look like they're really there. And they get these really close-up shots on them when you should be able to tell it's CGI, but you can't because they look so good. And the cinematography in this movie is also excellent. So props to all of the visual elements of this movie. The movie looks fantastic.
I definitely agree. This movie looked really great, especially parts where they would use fire.
Mm-hmm.
They had a scene where they had like the two apes, they were kind of like hugging each other, and there was like fire in the background.
Yeah.
It was really spectacular. Like, I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
But there was other things in this movie, like towards the end, you were not attached to it at all. You didn't really care about anything because the plot was so bad.
And that's the thing, is that the movie has this conflict but doesn't really do a lot with it, doesn't go anywhere, and there are these like plot cliches and character cliches and one-dimensional characters along the way that just don't help you actually feel attached enough to care about the process of the conflict itself. And so by the end you just kind of feel like, why did I really bother watching this whole 2.5-hour long movie? So with that being said, what would you rate this movie on a scale of A through F?
I'm going to have to give this movie a C because I probably would not see it again. The CGI and all that stuff, how it looked good, saved it, but I have to give it a C. What would you give it?
I'm actually going to give it a B, a low B, but just because, here's why. I really, really liked Caesar and the apes in this movie. They were done extremely well, and the acting was phenomenal on the part of all the actors playing the apes. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes after this, and if this movie works as a tie-in for more movies, that's fine, but on its own, not that great.
Thanks for watching this episode of Worth Watching.
Remember to like the video if you liked it, comment down below with your thoughts on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and of course subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.